All right. Test.
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 One V, 3 lines, 2 lines, 1 line.
We are back on Convincing Idiots. We're having too much fun here this week. Too much damn fun.
Is it possible?
We are back, and I got to tell you guys, there's some mischief afoot on this show, both on screen, off screen, and out of screen. Okay, so
you mean
today,
like my nipple?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Mischief is afoot. We discuss a lot of pop culture here on the show. So that covers a lot of topics. We have villains across many platforms. We have comic books. We've experienced them in movies, television, many different variations of pop culture in which that we consume. So, gentlemen, do you know what is in fact... I mean, we're going to probably go over some of our... We've discussed going over some of our most dastardly villains of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to jump the gun here, but I can't help but ignore what has to be the most horrible, awful villain of them all. And it would have to be the one that you have no control over. Fatigue. Right?
That's
When you
right.
run down, when you're tired, when your body is failing you, it's pushed to the absolute limits. You can't take any more. When you're like on a long walk and you're like, God,
Nick, that's
what?
like me.
Where would this hero be to save the day? Well, let me tell you, my friends, if you had an electric bike from our friends at RPM Bike Shop, fatigue would be finito. No more.
Oh, boy.
All you would have to do, in theory, if fatigue were to rear its ugly head upon you to get your hands on your very own electric bike, all you would have to do is go to Facebook, type in that little search bar up at the top there, RPM Bike Shop. They are located in Carrollton, Ohio, locally here. You will see all their wonderful products that they have to offer you. Okay? You can also give them a call at 330-808-7792. They will hook you up with an electric bike. You can also visit their website. That's right, they're fancy boys, just like we are, with a website. All you have to do is go to rpmbikeshop.com today. Check out their lovely products. Go over there. Tell them that the boys from Convincing Idiots sent you their way and that you need a hero today. RPM Bike Shop.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we have
done.
the most awful and tedious villain of them all tackled, now we can get to some of the lower hanging fruit that that exist in pop culture as we know it. We're talking about
Lower hanging fruit, like Brian's balls?
like Brian's low balls, high balls, low balls.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, all right.
Brian's low ball high balls should be your specialty drink that you make at your house.
It really should.
There you go. I should rename
Brian's
it.
Couple cherries at the bottom.
low ball, high balls. Yes, absolutely. So
all
let's
right, gentlemen.
start with Dean because he wants to. Let's
No, because
Oh.
I thought about this. I wanted to start this subject with a question.
Okay.
What makes, because obviously if you haven't, with this whole diatribe, if you haven't told, we're about to give our best villains, our favorite villains, whatnot, of pop culture. But I want to present it to you two. What makes a good villain to
Untimely
you?
interruptions.
Fair enough. But is it the writing? Is it the acting? Is it what makes a good villain?
There's just so many factors with what makes a good villain. It definitely adds to the storyline. He's definitely the balance to the quote unquote good characters in the storyline. if it's he or she, if it's an exceptionally good performance, it gives me personal angst when that villain is on screen. It creates a lot of tension. Just makes you feel uneasy and unnerved. You don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know. Those are just a couple of factors that it makes a good villain, in my opinion. So,
I think it varies, like Brian said. But what I would say is a lot of times if it's a story, it's more of the background, maybe the story. If they have a kind of I would call it a tortured soul element to where they have a really good story that makes them a good villain, versus I think a lot of times on screen it can be in the delivery of the portrayal, as in, we talk a lot here about comic book movies and things like that. You see different variations of characters. Some I would hold in different regards than others based on the delivery of a character example. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like you said, Brian, combination of both, but I think for me, the format of the villain or the version of the villain that I have in my mind varies, whether it's a portrayal or whether we're talking about the character and his story or her story in general. You know what I mean?
Sometimes, and oftentimes too, it's there's some type of, not all the time, but oftentimes some of the not qualities, but they're relatable in some respects. Mm-hmm. Not saying that you are a bad person or something like that, but like you say, there's some angst, and if you get a backstory of how that villain came to be, sometimes you can step back and say, yeah, I understand it, like Magneto type of thing. It's I understand his point of view and how he is seeing. I don't necessarily agree with it. Maybe sometimes we do sort of agree with some of the mindset of the villain, just how they go about. Well, that's a good one. You know what I'm saying? So
every villain is the hero in their own story. Every villain thinks that they are doing right or what needs to be done.
That's the point.
They think they are making the right decision in their mind. They're not a villain to them.
They're not a villain.
The person trying to stop them is getting in their way, but they're trying to do a greater good, or they're trying to do something that they believe is going to help a situation, or they're fixing a wrongdoing in society, or whatever.
There are some villains that are out there that don't abide by that. You know what I mean? That just are pure chaos, pure evil. Yeah. That don't have that, I'm doing this because I think it's right. Some of them are just dicks.
Pieces of shit. Yeah.
Right.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
I get that. And those are the ones I relate to. All right.
Hi, I'm Dean, the sociopath.
And I just want to watch you fucking burn. Anyways.
I have a terror boner right now. Hashtag terror boner. Make it happen.
There you go.
Yep. All right. So, gentlemen, we talked about doing our list, doing the Mount Rushmore. We bounced about a few different things. And Brian, you come up with the great idea of let's bounce off some of our favorite, each of our favorite bad guys, give a little reasoning, and then at the end we can see if we can culminate and get our Mount Rushmore of bad guys.
Yep. Yeah. Let's go around the table. Everybody throw out a name. We'll go throw out a name. We'll talk about it if we have it. Agree. We'll go around. Everybody will just take a few turns around and throw out some names until we don't have any more.
Hold on. I mean, instead of that, how about we each one of us go around and say our own bad guy, talk about it. Explain why and whatnot, and then at the end we'll come up with a consensus, a list.
Okay, so what I said in different words. Yeah, let's do that.
Is that what Dick said? I
said it. The reason I pause, I'm like, did they not understand that I just repeated what he said?
Yeah.
Did they not get it? All right, good. You guys got it.
Or we could do what I said the first time without hearing the shit that you said the same way but differently.
Like, you guys are gonna be silent. I come off just like a dipshit, which makes sense.
Dean's stupid. Like, really stupid.
I don't think he's listening to them at all. He's just
Brian-
saying words.
Brian, you've seen more villains than anybody because you've lived on the earth way longer than anybody. So why don't you
That's right.
start?
Well, former President Trump. Now now hear me out. No, I'm kidding.
Agree.
I'm kidding.
Send him to the top of the mountain.
We all agree.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm just.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
All right. So no, this is in no particular order. So this one of the older villains in pop culture and movies that I've enjoyed as a kid growing up here. As you guys know, I'm a big James Bond fan.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go with Blowfield from the Bond movies. So Blowfield was a
He failed to blow someone? That is a big villain move.
Nick has no clue what that's like.
Nope. He was the head of.
Why did he do it?
How do you fail at that? I succeed all the time.
He was the head of Spectre in many of
Uh-huh.
all the Sean Connery movies. He was the main villain. So all the original '60s Bond movies, played by different actors.
Doesn't that just show how bad Sean Connery's James Bond was? That he was there all the movies and didn't catch him.
Well, there was a movie or two that it looked like he did kill him, but it turned out to be a decoy. Then he kept getting away. So, yeah, he was a reoccurring villain from the late '60s through the '70s movies. And
I mean, if you can outsmart James Bond for 20 years,
yeah,
pretty
well,
good.
that's true. That's true. So, anyway, just an interesting character. The head of
what was the name?
Spectre. Blowfield.
Blowfield. I'm sorry.
The blow that
I think
failed.
there's something wrong with this speaker here.
In the Austin Powers movie, he was a caricature of Blowfield, was the villain there. But anyway,
Who was the character? You said in the Austin Power. Who was
it? Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil is.
Okay. Dr.
He's
Okay,
model
I've seen the
after
guy.
Blowfield with the cat and the scar and the bald head.
I never knew the guy's name. But I know who you're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Nicholas, who's your submission?
Let's see. I'm going to start with one that I think we probably all have, and this is more based off of his backstory and all that stuff and the things that he did. Darth Vader. Okay, Brian's got him on a shirt.
Yep.
So the argument that I could already hear from somebody would be like, "Well, there was still good in him, and he was, whatever." And yes, but he did a lot of fucked up shit in the meantime.
He killed a whole goddamn planet.
He blew the planet that his daughter was from, like, up in front of her. Like, I mean, that's some pretty fucked up shit. I mean, en route to, like, getting back to, like, the light that was in him, like, he did some really fucked up shit. So, like,
and regardless of how much I got turned on, he choked a lot of people.
He sure did. He sure did. So, like, Darth Vader is, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, I think I speak for myself and probably many others when I say this, but growing up watching those movies, you kind of get lost in the cool factor of Darth Vader.
Yes.
He's really cool, and he's got the cool voice and the outfit and the theme music and the cape and the whole 9 yards, right? But he's really, like, fucking evil. Like, he actually is, like, pretty, like, if that was a real life thing, that would not be something that that's typically, I mean, that would truly strike fear in you, but knowing that it's a science fiction movie and you get lost in the cool factor. I think Darth Vader is a solid villain, truly evil, for, I mean, the majority of, actually all of his time as Darth Vader until the very end. So Darth Vader would be my submission.
Okay.
Yeah, arguably the best movie villain of all time. I agree with you. Just many facts, all things you just said. So
all right.
The story arc, the tragedy, the whole story arc of him, terrific. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So for my
crossing off Darth Vader.
Well, I'm making a list of who we're all saying, even if it crosses over. My submission, we're going to go away from movies real quick and venture into television, and I'm going to go Walter White.
Mm,
from
okay.
Breaking Bad.
Relatable villain.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And my list is, I think I like the villains that I like to see the fall. I mean, you saw the fall within the prequels, but that was 30 years later or whatever. You know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
Darth Vader. With Walter White, you got to see, this wholesome, good family man fall and see how and why he fell.
Mhm.
And then once he did fall, towards that end, he was just an evil motherfucker. He did have traces here and there of redeeming qualities, but not much by the end. Like, he was, spoiler alert, by the time he was killed at the end, you go, yeah, he's off the earth. Thank fucking God.
Yeah.
But yeah, Walter White, I mean, given the nuance and Bryan Cranston's portrayal, first of all, Bryan Cranston's portrayal of anything should be on every list that we do, if applicable. But yeah, Walter White to me is one of the best TV villains in TV history. So yeah, Walter White is my submission.
That's a good one. I said relatable because I was like, actually, as I was
You
thinking
also
through
make
TV
meth?
shows. No, not yet. I'm not there yet.
Fair enough.
As I was thinking through TV shows for a minute, I was going, I'm going to all my all-time favorite shows, and I'm thinking of Breaking Bad, but it never even crossed my radar as him as a villain, just because I'm like,
He is the villain. I mean,
I know, but
meth.
you meet him in the story. I mean, you follow him, and you meet him in the story,
Sure.
and you know why he does it and how he does it, and the fact that he is simply running a business, illegal as it may be and harmful as it may be, he's not a drug user. He's not, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't. It's weird that that never really falls in to the story arc. You know what I mean? But he just elevates and elevates and elevates, and it's almost like this addiction to.
Well, it starts
power
by
the,
like,
I mean, it really
he gets
is.
wedged in there, and like he's trying to dig himself out.
Yep.
Hole gets deeper and deeper, and before you know it, he's in a hole that he can't get out of, and he accepts the hole.
Right. That's like Brian on this podcast. He started this shit, and now he'll never get away from it, and that's just what it is.
He looked around and realized, I'm in too deep. I might as well tell dick jokes.
Right.
Just have to accept the hole.
Accept the hole.
Always.
Actually, I changed my mind.
And
I want that on a t-shirt. Accept the hole.
Accept the hole.
Accept the hole.
Hashtag
accept the hole.
Yep.
Brian, who do you got next?
You hold on real quick. Accept the hole, and then where you have the dash and the author, and then Statman, Brian Fisher. After that, accept the hole.
Yep. The merchandise on the site.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whose turn is it?
Yours.
Okay.
Till Dean interrupts you.
You just did, you dick.
I was just saying that to say about you. I wasn't gonna actually go, Brian.
I watch this movie every year, and every year I thoroughly enjoy the performance of this villain, Alan Rickman, Hans Gruber in Die Hard. I think it's just he is terrific in that movie. I watch it every holiday season. You see the meme every year. It's like it's not Christmas time until Hans Gruber falls from the tower, basically, or whatever it is. Nakatomi Tower. But he was so good in that movie, and just cold-blooded, just ruthless. One of his best roles, I think. But definitely 100%. a great movie villain.
That is a good submission. I thought you were going. When you started, you did the whole spiel. I was like, I know exactly where he's going with it. Said, watch it every year. It's not Christmas time until you watch it. It's a classic. I was like, oh,
Sinbad.
Phil Hartman in Jingle All the Way is the villain, obviously.
Ooh, hold on. That's actually
trying to steal Arnold's wife. What a dick! Like, yeah.
We could talk about that. Hold on. Who was a bigger villain?
Ted.
Was it Phil Hartman or?
Oh yeah, it's definitely Ted. It's Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman's only motive is to fuck Arnold's wife. Like, Sinbad's trying to get a toy for his kid, just like Arnold is. He just does it in a different way.
But he held up a federal building with a bomb.
But for the love of his child, Dean, which one of us wouldn't do that?
Me.
I got two beautiful boys sleeping upstairs. You think I wouldn't blow up an entire building for either one of them? You bet your goddamn ass I would. Please don't call anybody on me.
I was going to say,
and don't play this.
That was Nick. Nick said that. Nick, not Brian, not Dean. Nick said that.
I'm a millennial. We grew up in a different time. It's not a big deal.
Yes.
The real villains of that movie were the producers.
Yeah, no shit. And the writer.
Actually, if I may, I'm not going to go on a too big of a jingle all the way to Angela, but if you really want to get serious, I would argue that the real villains are the people that let a man come in off the street and dress up in a flying jetpack that could instantly break his neck. Like,
that's true.
To go at that those are the villains.
Nuts.
That is not
You're
cool.
right.
That's negligence.
That is
Right. Crazy nuts.
Crazy nuts. That's my nickname. Crazy
That's
nuts.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Brian's is long nuts.
Long nuts. Dean's is no nuts.
What? I had a little bike accident. RPM bikes.
It was not on a... You fucking wipe that shit out of your mouth. Your RPM bike shop would never fit you with an unsafe bike. Never. Okay, Dean, it's your turn. Regretfully. Go.
What? All right. I'm going to go with Hans Landa.
Ooh,
Does
you know, he's
anybody
on my
know what
list,
that is?
too.
Hans
Yes,
Landa.
Christophe
Watts in Inglourious Bastards.
So good.
There is something so frightening,
Yes.
so disturbing, and yet so goddamn personable about him.
Yeah, he made you uneasy every time he was on camera.
But he did it with a smile and with charm, and you're like, I get where if this was real life, I would let him in, have a seat, and then you realize, oh shit, what have I done?
Yeah, that whole opening
Christophe
scene is awesome. Yeah,
amazing. Christophe Watts in really anything he does. I only have one other, and I'll get to it, but I only have one other person that I name as an actor rather than just a character. But Christophe Watts in Inglourious Bastards was top notch, amazing.
Yep.
Chilling.
He won an Academy Award, I think, for that movie.
He did.
Yeah. Best supporting actor. Go ahead.
Nikolai?
Okay, so let's see. Next, I'll go with my submission. This is one you guys will not know, unfortunately, because neither one of you are big Game of Thrones fans. But Dean, you called it off show, I believe, when we started. I have a Game of Thrones character. Joffrey is the boy king that inherited the throne. He was, to give you a brief backstory, he was
any sort of like meme or whatever about like evil.
Yes,
I see
he's
that
always
kid,
there.
that guy, that kid.
And I got to tell you, if I ever met the actor that played him, I would have to walk up to him and be like, "You're such a good actor. I physically, I hated you so much while watching that show. I mean, it was so, I would go to work and just think about that little fucking prick. I can't actually.
Can you isolate that quote right there?
Think of that little fucking
I go to work every day thinking about that little prick.
Honestly, for my money, my entire list, as many good villains I have, portrayals or stories, whatever have you, there is definitely not, I can't think of ever consuming any type of content, whether it be watching it, reading it, anything like that, that has ever invoked emotion, hating emotion in me the way that this character in Game of Thrones has. I mean, it is so unsettling and disturbing, and it's because he's a spoiled little shit, but he has the power to do all this stuff and get away with it, and he's just demented as fuck. He just totally enjoys every little bit of pain and despair he can cause anyone.
He might
he's
be
just a total
to
tyrant.
That rule that we talked about earlier about
he has watched the world burn.
Right, he's watched the world burn. Okay.
He has, you're just because, obviously in those times, a lot of people, they were inbreeding to keep the family bloodlines clean. He's a part of that. They think there's even mentions of that in the show, that perhaps because of, his bloodline being so pure, that there's something that's amiss, and he's, he basically is not well mentally. And he's just, if anyone's seen Game of Thrones, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody fucking hates him. A tremendous actor, tremendously written character, so truly evil, demented, twisted, just a shitty little kid. But yeah, he was basically the king and had the power to do what he wanted, and caused a lot of trauma and despair and really torturous ways to mess with people. So Joffrey from Game of Thrones is on my list.
Okay.
Next.
Brian.
Very good. John Doe.
Ah, yes.
John Doe.
Mhm.
John Doe, played by Kevin Spacey in Seven. This is one of the most demented movies ever.
Kevin Spacey, also a very good real life villain.
Yes, you're right about that. He's definitely he was a very good villain in this movie. The end of Seven is one of the biggest twists and shocks of any movie, and he played that so well in that film.
Yeah.
So great movie villain, John Doe, Kevin Spacey before he went off the rails. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, of all things, I mean, all this bullshit aside, I mean, he was obviously a critically acclaimed actor. Everybody, he was a great actor before we knew what a piece of shit he was. But I mean, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely.
All right. Next.
All right.
Dino.
I'm gonna
Rose McGowan for being the first one to bring Harvey Weinstein to task. What a villain!
eat shit. I'm gonna go with Kevin Spacey as Frank Underwood in House of Cards.
Oh wow. Okay. Yep.
Again, he was so maniacal and cold and ruthless. As we've said before, Kevin Spacey plays an amazing bad guy in film and in real life.
That's right.
Frank Underwood is a fantastic villain. And
he was the president in House of Cards. He portrayed the president.
he became the president sooner. or later, yes.
President. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
See, that was one
as senator.
That show was like
It's
a
a
big
great
deal
show.
on Netflix, and I had every intention on starting to watch it. Everybody, it was around the time when there were so many shows, and it was all you have to watch this and that, and all these shows are so great. It was kind of at the cusp of that, so I was going to watch it, and then all that shit happened with him, and I couldn't really, I was late to the party, to where I'd waited too long, and then the shit started happening with him, and I was like, well, I don't feel right watching it now. But I've never seen it, but I've heard, amazing things about that show.
It's a great show.
Yeah. I am going to go next with another villain that I kind of assume is on some more of our lists, but I'm going to call out a particular one. So when I was talking earlier about different portrayals of villains, I'm going to say the Joker. Okay.
Yeah.
There are many portrayals of the Joker. I would argue that the Joker, in and of itself, the way he's written is a fantastic villain. But I felt like this is no shock, but was never quite brought to the same depth that he was by Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. So that version of the Joker is is one of my favorite villain portrayals, period. He's kind of a rare example to me, as how I feel like we were talking about some people want to watch the world burn. He was kind of an anarchist version of the Joker. He didn't care. He wasn't after power or money. He just wanted to see in his mind, what was justice for the people that were, not living up to what they say they were supposed to. But at the same time,
there was a relatable.
Yes, exactly. There was a relatable factor to that, because, you know what I mean? We do see these things happen. So he was kind of both.
I want to question the Heath Ledger. Yes, great portrayal, but is it really? Is it just because in the movie he had to contrast against the good guy of Christian Bale's acting? So you're like, okay, he's doing a super great job, but this is what he has to act up against. So, so it looks a lot better. It's kind of like, if Nick pulls down his pants and Brian pulls down his pants, one of the two is going to look a lot bigger than the other.
Right. But is that really a win for you? Just because, given the
you both don't pull down your pants, so it's definitely a win for me.
Yes, actually, I would argue with that. He was so good that I didn't even notice how much I didn't like Christian Bale's version of Batman in that movie.
I'll accept that.
I would argue that, yes, he was absolutely that good. Now, interestingly enough, we have, under the same umbrella of the character of the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's version, which I very much liked. Much more relatable.
Me too. I would.
Yeah.
Relatable in the sense that you definitely feel remorse for this character. You don't see him as this hardened villain, this pure anarchy, just someone dying to fit in, someone dying to find their place, and having a
mental
door
illness.
slammed on them at every possible, opportunity. Yes.
Mental illness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch Heath Ledger's portrayal, you're looking at that going, okay, yeah. Oh, look at him go. Oh, that's it. Excuse me. You're watching Joaquin Phoenix, and you're like, you're uncomfortable. Like there's that silence.
Yes.
Like you don't know how you're supposed to react in a lot of these scenes. It's like
which makes it so real,
right? Like it's serious. It makes you seriously awkward and uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah. I love Heath Ledger's performance, but as Joker, as that character and again, different elk, but I love Joaquin Phoenix portrayal.
Yeah, me too.
God damn, it's so good. So
I didn't think I'd ever feel that way about another Joker, because I was like, Heath Ledger just didn't set the bar. He took it and tossed it in the woods. You can't even find it. It's just gone. You can't even.
I thought that way about Cesar Romero, but
in the original Batman TV show. yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
And for what it was in the platform it was, yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, he was a comic book come to life.
Yeah, well, that's why it's a great villain, because you could have it's another reason it's such a great villain, because you have so many different portrayals of him, and every one of them in their own right is very entertaining, and you like I said, you can see his side of it. You can relate to his. You can understand his perspective. I guess what I'm trying to say. In every storyline that he's in. So it's right, but you understand it.
And it's kind of the actors or the different portrayals kind of mimics the idea of the character itself.
That's right. Think about that. It's like we've mentioned this before. It's the only, unless I'm missing something, it's the only villain that has been portrayed by 2 Academy Award winners. They had their own version of him with Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger, and then even in the animated world, obviously Mark Hamill.
Until they do the Statman Brian Fisher story.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, or until they make the fucking musical of the Joker, then whatever. But I think it's Oscar away for that, but we'll see.
I don't think it's going to be quite. But
that's a lie.
I think there's a version of that exists that will work. And I can kind of envision
Really?
it. Yes. It's not a musical like you're thinking of, but I can see it working. Yes. There's a version of it. Yes. We'll do that we'll deep dive on. I can explain it in better detail, but it's not here's not the time.
It comes out it comes out in 2024. We'll talk about it, and if we're still going by then, we'll definitely talk about it for sure. So.
Yeah. Okay. Who's up?
I don't know who just. I think Brian.
I had the Joker. Before me was Dean.
All right,
somebody, right? So Brian, go ahead.
I'll give you one here. So we mentioned this character, Nick and Arnold episode 2 weeks ago, but the original Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, that was one of the most frightening villains in my opinion, and also in movie history. So. Yeah. Again, as I mentioned, as we talked about on that episode, he was just such a force then. He looked imposing, and it just kept coming after Sarah Connor. It's just, he was so hard to kill. I mean, even down
because
to
there's no humanity to him.
That's right.
Yeah, there's no remorse, zero. Just and that's a killing machine.
He's crawling with his torso, and then just the hand at the very end, almost just relentlessly after her, made that movie very intense and frightening. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I think that character alone takes upon a different side of villain than we'd talked about. There's no humanity. There's no thinking he's right. There's no wanting to watch it burn. No, it's just a command.
I'm programmed to kill Sarah Connor. That's it.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And at every cost, get it done. So that's a different villain in its own.
If I may, I know there'll probably be a time at the end for honorable mentions, but based on this, honorable mention in there for the T-1000 in Judgment Day.
Sure.
Same deal,
absolutely.
just, you know what I mean? Different,
What's the same mindset?
different. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, but definitely a great villain portrayal. Dino, who you got next?
All right. You want to get weird?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get weird. I'm going to go with... This is going to be a two-person, a two-thing, two-being situation. I'm going to go with the team of Jafar and Iago.
Okay.
From
Why
the
does
movie
Iago make
Aladdin. He was a part of it just because remorse and switch sides doesn't mean you didn't do a lot of shitty things for many years alongside Jafar.
Okay.
He's a dick. I mean, don't get it fucked up. He's a dick.
I feel like in parrot brain, though, whoever's giving you crackers, you're just going.
True, but I think he was a little more. He was more sentient than most parrots.
Okay.
But Jafar and Iago were
actually, that's true. The Sultan gave him many crackers, and he was not having it.
Shoved it right in his mouth.
Filthy Sultan.
Brian, what do you think about Jafar?
I was gonna say I can circle back off of your Disney one because I have a Disney one as well.
All right, let's do it.
This might be, depending on who you are and how you feel, this might actually be the creme de la creme of villains. Because I can't think of one where we've talked about remorse, right? Somebody feels they're right. Some people want to watch the world burn. All these different angles, right? Written well, acted well. This is none of the above, really. Or maybe written well. Corella Deville has only one motive, and that is simply fashion. That is her motive. And it is to literally skin fucking puppies for a goddamn coat.
Yep,
literally, faux fur will not do. It has to be authentic puppy Dalmatian skins for her coat. That's the whole thing.
You don't get much.
She doesn't want
more
power.
Evil than that, really.
She doesn't want money. There's no personal gain other than to look good based on skinning puppies. That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
That is demented. Corella Deville, submission.
Yeah.
Not many people know this, but my beard is made out of the same material.
That is fantastic.
Yep.
I mean, not that that's how it was done, but it's great pickup.
I'm going to pet you next time I see you.
That's right.
Dean, what else you got?
All right. I have. This is actually big. Daniel LaRusso from The Karate Kid.
Now,
because he's right. He's supposed to be the hero of the tale.
Is he?
They
Daniel.
tell you. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
That prick.
Okay.
That little prick. It's 16 years old. If you go back, not only Karate Kid 1, but Karate Kid 2, everything he did, he deserved. He was a dick to everybody who beat him up. He deserved every ass beating that he had.
Is this you revising your childhood?
No. I'm just saying this. Daniel LaRusso was a dickhead, and he, under the guise of a cute little boy from the Bronx or wherever he was from.
This wasn't you. Yeah, okay.
No, he's just Daniel LaRusso was a prick, and just because the movie centered around him, they made him look a good guy. But I mean, yes, of course you can blame that on shitty writing, but what it comes down to is he was a dick. He got what he deserved. So,
that is one thing that makes, I think we all agree too, that one thing that makes the Karate Kid series so good is because they tell that side of the story. They tell the side of different perspectives, and it makes you rethink.
Yeah.
Like you're right. He wasn't such a great kid. He had a legal kick, and he's not such a great guy even in this series necessarily. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely have some empathy for the Cobra Kai guy, right?
Karate Kid 2, when he walks up and they're doing a deal, and what they're using as payment and money, he doesn't understand it, so he breaks it and just goes, "Ha, what was that?" This is their currency. This is their culture, and he breaks the shit and laughs. No,
Yep.
the kid needs his ass beat.
Asshole.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So Daniel LaRusso is my choice.
That's
a
solid.
good one.
That's solid. Brian, you got any more?
Yeah, I got a couple more, but the slasher, the slasher movies and monster movies. I mean, there's you could name a lot of monsters and slashers and Jason and people like that. But to me, the best one of all time in that genre of movies, one of the greatest slasher or the greatest slasher villain, Freddy Krueger, played by the great Robert Englund in those movies. And I know we've talked about these characters before, but you could replace Jason with multiple actors. You could replace Michael Myers. You cannot replace Freddy Krueger because of Robert Englund and his portrayal of that character. So,
right,
just dark, demented, funny, sick, just great slasher villain.
Also a child molester.
Sure, that's right. Yeah, just a very evil guy. Pure evil.
Yeah, he was a bad guy. And if you look at the first movie, he wasn't wisecracking. They started that in the second movie. The first one, he was pure evil and he was the nightmare.
Yep.
And then the second one, that's where they started the jokes and the made him almost affable by the fourth film.
You're right. It got really goofy. That first movie, though, still holds up today. Terrifying and
sure.
Yeah, go back and watch it now if you haven't seen it in a while.
I've got some more here. So next one, I'll go. I've got a relatable one here. I was thinking of this one when you were mentioning Walter White there, Dean. Very relatable. A villain in a movie. Honestly, one of the reasons I love this movie so much was even the main bad guy was very relatable and very likable in many ways. Killmonger, Eric Killmonger from Black Panther,
good one.
was technically the villain in Black Panther, but and even the hero in Black Panther, and T'Challa finds, once he discovers the backstory, kind of tries to save him. Is upset with his own family that they didn't go back for him, they didn't save him. He was left in a shitty situation. You can understand how he became an extremist. So this is a perfect example of a villain that is a hero in his own story. I mean, he is trying to do what's right by his people, as in the people, in the United States and the current state of the world, and helping people that are underprivileged and are undermined, and he wants to go and use the powers of Wakanda to help people all over the world that look like him, that are being treated unfairly.
You could easily take the film crew that followed the Black Panther, put it on him, and he's the good guy in the story, and Black Panther is the bad guy.
Sure,
100%.
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely. So and Michael B. Jordan, very handsome fella.
Sure,
it's kind of hard to really hate a face like that. Or a body like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's getting a little late here, guys.
I've got more.
Yeah, I do too.
We all have more.
Okay. Can I give one, because I teased it? I should pay it off. The guy that I'd said, the actor, Giancarlo Esposito.
Okay, Dean, we don't have time for you to make people up. Like, we've got to...
Gus from Breaking Bad, and he was also the Grand Moff on The Mandalorian.
Yeah, great actor.
That guy's such a great bad guy that they have him do bad guy stints in video games now.
Yeah, right. Uncharted.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that guy's just... I mean, he's so good in everything, guys. And I just... I didn't read the article, but I scrolled past a headline saying, could he, Giancarlo Esposito, be the new Dr. X?
Professor X?
Oh, which I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy's an actor, and he's mainly bad guys. It's just fantastic. So
yeah. For sure. I'll make mine quick. I would be remiss if I did not mention one of my favorite villains of all time. Definitely an example of a villain in a certain sense, but definitely not a villain in his own mind. Obviously, I'm a fan of Venom. We've discussed him before.
Sure.
I'm a big Venom fan. Eddie Brock, in and of himself, is not a villain, but the symbiote makes him a villain, and I just like the whole vibe of it. I like the idea of this alien entity coming into him and turning him into this thing that, is just ravenous, he can't control, trying to balance it, all that stuff. So definitely my favorite comic book villain, one of my favorite comic book characters, period, and love the portrayal of him on the big screen. I would go further into things that I've written down. I just wrote a couple like real life villains in music, like Michael Jackson and Marilyn Manson, but I would be afraid that Dean would try to defend them, so I'll leave that for another time. Brian, go ahead.
I'll just run off some from the Marvel universe that are, we mentioned already Thanos, James Brolin. Again, great in that role, great villain. You definitely see his side of the story, as Dean mentioned earlier, his perspective on things. Green Goblin, William Dafoe, great in that role. Great character. The Kingpin, even with Vincent D'Onofrio. D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
Kingpin's a great villain. He played him perfectly, I felt, and that was
also a little relatable in the Spider-Verse for sure.
Sure. And Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Just in those earlier movies, Loki was the villain. Yes. He was so good, so manipulative and everything. So
there's not many that toe the line quite as good as that one, where you're like, I know I'm not supposed to like him, but you can't help it. Like, he's just so likable, so charismatic. Yep.
Yeah, there's plenty more, but that's a lot.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I've been keeping a list here, and I think that I have our if this is your first time listening and you've gotten this far, good on you, and we thank you. But we do our Mount Rushmore as 5, not 4, because we're idiots.
Idiot Mount Rushmore. Yep.
Convince me that we're not. I bet you can't.
That's right. So, our Mount Rushmore of villains, pop culture villains. We have Darth Vader, Thanos, Brian, Nick, and Dean is the Mount Rushmore.
Pretty good.
Of villains.
Yes, that's right.
Pretty solid.
The 3 of us made your list because we've wasted your time.
That's right. That's right.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I mean, I know it's getting late here. Maybe we'll come back and they have the 3 for real. But good stuff though. Yeah, I agree. It's a fine Mount Rushmore of villains.
It is
just fine. It's the first time I've ever made a Mount Rushmore of ours. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty proud. I'm pretty proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were gonna do douchebags. I thought that's when we would all make it, but we did this first, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And if I'm not going to make it for best taste tester of Brian's lowball highballs, then I would say villains is the way to get on there.
Well, I'm happy to make it here. If you'd answer a goddamn text, maybe you'd be over there drinking his highball.
All right, good stuff here, guys. Great topic. Again, we could talk about this all night, but very good.
And we will. Anyway, back to my list.
Yes. Yeah. So, I would be a villain here, guys. By the way, I would be a true villain before we wrap up this episode if I did not mention our other sponsors, which I have not yet done. So that's right.
Good slide.
Bellmark, Amazon store, BELLEMARK. Go check them out on Amazon. They specialize in quality wood products, floating nightstands is their specialty. Also, countertop compost bins and a floating liquor cabinet. Go check them out.
Floating compost bins are good for grinding up dead bodies and things like that. If you're a real villain. So there you go.
That's right. That's right. So just order directly through Amazon on their store. Everything's delivered through the Amazon service conveniently, safely, and affordably. And also, Golden Heart Tattoo. So we've all got work done.
Our newest sponsor.
Right. All had work done by Scott Oswald. The last tattoo here, my Twilight Zone themed tattoo. Flower here from my. It's hard to see here,
Scott,
but from my daughter.
Greg Paramic over here as well.
Come on, show Greg's work.
Yep. Everywhere.
Show us other stuff, Nick. Come on.
Greg, the boys said I have to get a dick tattoo now.
You can find Golden Heart Tattoo on Facebook. Go check them out there. Or you may call at 234-706-2982 and email goldenhearttattoos.com. Go check them out. They fill up quickly. Make an appointment today if you're looking for some new ink or perhaps your first ink.
Hey.
Scott does a great job. Super clean studio. I mean, he was literally, I'm not even kidding around, he was literally wrapping everything in plastic, and it's just completely safe and painless tattoo. So
it was like he was about to do surgery.
That's right.
And he has a sweet Macho Man Slim Jim holder as well.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Right.
Check that out.
That's right. Golden Heart Tattoo over in the Norton, Ohio area. So on that note, Nick, it's time for another to wrap up here.
It is.
Dean, I don't know about you, but you have a suggestion for Nick? Go ahead.
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know how, I'm going to leave this up to you how you do it, but do this outro evil. Mm-hmm. Just be sinister. If you were to be a bad guy in a movie or TV show, be that guy.
Here it comes. Okay, so here's what you're going to do, okay?
Jesus.
First of all, you're going to go over to a link tree, okay? It's www.convincingidiots, okay? .wordpress.com. Think you can handle that? Yeah, I thought so. Okay. So anyway, then after that, you're going to go over to a link tree. It's a big old tree in the middle of a forest, okay? And hanging off of every branch, there's going to be something called a link that's a No, that's not a thing. It's on the website also. Okay. Okay, well, apparently all I wanted was a frickin' tree, okay, that had links hanging off of them. But apparently we can't do that, okay? Because apparently it's too hard to get a tree with links hanging from it, okay? So you're going to go also to the World Wide Web into a thing called www.google.com. And from there you're going to type in Convincing Idiots WordPress. No, that's not right. We don't do that either. That's what, for frickin' sake. Okay, so it's Convincing Idiots link tree. Type that into Google. Okay, yeah, is that good? We do that. Okay, so go there, and you're gonna find links to all of something about media, okay, and being social. So go over there and tell them that Convincing Idiots sent you, okay? So for this episode of Convincing Idiots, I'm a millennial. My name is Nick, and I've seen a lot of Austin Powers movies.
I'm Dean, the Zennial.
I'm Brian, Gen X.
Have we convinced you that we are, in fact, the most dastardly villains of them all?
Zennial Dean, Gen X Brian, Millennial Nick. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe.